What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about SoundHound, more specifically shorts. Shorts have been playing a very big part in SoundHound's day-to-day price action, making up for roughly between 40 to 50% of the daily volume. But I wanted to go over when they will leave. So I want to go over all the things that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So starting off, when it comes down to shorts, currently it is estimated that 30.28% of the free float is being shorted. Works out to be 114.71 million shares overall are being shorted. So you can kind of see all that information right over here. Shorts on Friday did return about 511,000 shares. DTC, there's a lot of good information up here that I don't necessarily bring up on a daily basis, but DTC is 2.79 days. That does signal that how kind of overextended shorts are, because that factors in the average volume for any stock. So for instance, SoundHound in comparison to number of shares being shorted. So it does signal that shorts are fairly overextended. Short score, higher the number, the higher the likelihood of a squeeze happening. But you can kind of see from this line right here, this purple line, shorts have been in SoundHound for a long time. And even early 2025, it was still at 33%. So for the most part, throughout 2025, it's been having a low of 27% and a high of 33%. Not really much change, but still during that time period, like shorts have made up for a good chunk of the daily volume. So when it comes down to it, obviously they are very strategic. Every time SoundHound does start to build up some good momentum, they like to throw everything that they can at it. More specifically, even if you can kind of see right here, I'll make this a little bit bigger. So behind that is the stock price, this line right here, and then this light purple line is the short activity. So as you can kind of correlate, every single time it starts to build up a little bit of momentum, shorts conveniently increase. So they do try to slow the progress down time and time again, especially back here. SoundHound was at $5 in 2024, November, had a nice pop to $7. They threw a lot at it. So they definitely do and are strategic. But the $1 million question is, when will they leave? So arguably, there's a couple of things that could be coming out that could really help them. One is just profitability. So in general, SoundHound is expected to be profitable or at least break even by 2027. So that in among itself is going to be a kind of natural deterrent, because why would a short want to be in a stock on the verge of profitability? Because that way less dilution and so many things like that. So they could easily kind of move higher. On a side note, one thing that, especially ever since I started covering, kind of doing YouTube, I never really paid attention to shorts as much as I do now. But there definitely is a very big correlation between stocks that have a heavy retail presence and the number and the higher the short interest. So shorts love to target retail. That's kind of it. And it's kind of funny that the big entity that could try to help retail, the SEC, doesn't give two craps. So I'll kind of cycle back to that. But ultimately, break even or profitability is a good deterrent. And I think Tesla is the iconic image of that. So I think it was 2018, 2019, or close to that. That is where they kind of started to hit break even and kind of move towards profitability. This right here, back in like early June 2019, short interest was about 30%. Yeah, this is unfortunately Ortex does all these random color codes. It's just they change it every single day. I have no idea why, but nonetheless, Tesla was fairly heavily shorted. Elon was very vocal on Twitter at the time and other forms of social media, calling out shorts. He hated shorts, and I'm sure still does. But right now, short interest is 3.28%. So generally, profitability is a natural deterrent, and you can kind of see a big correlation between shorts returning, so these purple lines, and the stock price moving higher. So very much like inverse, right? So potentially that is going to happen exactly with SoundHound, just closer to, let's say, 2027, transitioning to 2028. Another big thing that could really help is kind of that new SEC transparency rule. And so for those of you that haven't paid attention to some of my videos, I kind of brought it up in the past, but there is this right here. So 13Fs. A lot of people like to kind of look at this information and see what big money is doing with their stock. And ultimately, there is a big flaw with these 13Fs, because all of this information, the only thing that is fully required is to disclose your long position. So if a entity, let's say, is playing both sides, or let's say they just legitimately are short, well, they don't have to disclose their position. That is very messed up, and I think it's very problematic for the broader market. But 2023, they initially came out with this new SEC transparency rule where technically every entity will have to disclose long and short positions. Because one thing I've kind of noticed based on these 13Fs, any institution that has and does show, let's say, one share, I'll give you a good kind of real world example. So this right here, so Anchor Investment Management has one share. I don't believe that. I don't believe that they just have one share. They most likely have a short position. They just have one share just to kind of mask it. So in general, a lot of messed up stuff. A lot of these right here with no actual, like all these, like 50 shares, Swan Capital, 48 shares, all of these entities most likely are short on the stock. And it happens all over the place. So in general, with the new SEC transparency rule, nobody wants to be seen as the big bad wolf. Nobody wants to be seen as Citadel. So that in among itself would be a good natural deterrent. You'd see shorts and a lot of these entities returning because, again, public image is going to be a big part. But unfortunately, the SEC did post this, and this was on December the 3rd, saying that they are pushing it back. Again, I mentioned it kind of came out 2023, was pushed back to initially 2024, then late 2024, early 2025, late 2025. It was supposed to be first half of 2026, and now it is being pushed back. So there's two kind of points. So it looks like for the reporting, March 29th, 2029, and then that 13F rule is January 2nd, 2028, conveniently around the next election. So of course there won't be any big changes like this in that close proximity, so this won't come to fruition. So this definitely could have been a good natural deterrent against shorts, not just for SoundHound, but across the board. But SEC definitely did drop the ball. So in reality, if this somehow does come to fruition, then yes, that could be. But right now, just profitability. So just wanted to kind of pop on, go over that because shorts do make up for a big kind of pain in SoundHound and a lot of other stocks' side. So let me know your general thoughts on that. One thing I do want to mention though, not going into deep, but there was some abnormal activity that did happen after hours on Friday, and it looks like some institutions wanted to get in. So these are some of the transactions that did occur on the dark pool above $100,000. And so one was done 7 minutes and the other one 4 minutes after the bell. 4.4 million and then 1.4. So maybe some big money is optimistic about this upcoming week. So let me know your thoughts on SoundHound. Are you buying? Are you selling? What are you generally doing with SoundHound? And then one final thing, just for this weekend, if you're looking for some solid on-point buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, I put out a promotion on my stacked account, which I made roughly around a couple weeks back. And so I lowered it from 55 down to 20. So if you get in, you will never be increased whatsoever. So that gives you everything that you kind of need. So definitely pop over there and check that out. Only for this weekend. Link in the description below and also the comments. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.